And I bet you thought Nintendo invented adding Super to the front of game titles for their Super game system. Super Golf was one of the Super Cassette Vision's launch titles, and it came at an odd moment in history. Nintendo's Golf on the Famicom was the hottest game on store shelves at that moment. But it's unlikely that Epoch was directly copying Nintendo, because Nintendo's game had only been out for around 8 weeks when the Super Cassette Vision was released. With manufacturing lead times, it's probably more of a coincidence. If Epoch was taking inspiration from any game for this, it would be Sega's Championship Golf for the SG-1000. That game had been out over 6 months at this point, and Super Golf looks and plays a lot like an upgraded version of that. It's worth pointing out that Super Golf is one of the very first video games to have a female protagonist. It's not quite the first, even on consoles, but it's pretty close. In Super Golf, you don't get a choice of character, so you're always playing as a young woman. At the start of the game, you choose how many players you're going to have. It's up to 4, but everyone has to share the same 2 controllers. You can turn the wind on and off, and you can choose how many holes you're going to play. When you approach the ball, you first aim your shot, and you can aim in 16 different directions. The thing is, that's only 3 steps between every cardinal direction, and that is nowhere near enough granularity for golf. It's especially bad when it becomes time for putting, because you often just can't aim at the hole. You select your club by pressing up and down. You have 3 different woods, 4 different irons, a sand wedge, and a putter. It doesn't automatically change your club for you, even once you reach the green. So you'll have to make your selection with every stroke. To start your backswing, you hit the left button on your controller, and a little animated golfer in the corner will start going back and forth with her swing. You hit the left button when she has the power that you want. If you wait long enough, then the stroke area will start flashing, and you'll hit with extra power. But if you wait too long there, she'll just take the stroke on her own and be considerably weaker. Once you hit the button for the stroke power, you then have to hit the left button again as the club passes over the ball to make sure that you don't slice or hook it. The course hazards are decently represented. If the ball lands in the yellow rough, then you'll have to use an iron to get some real power out of the shot. If it lands in the gray sand traps, then you have to use the wedge. And if it lands on the fairway, then you'll get full power out of any club that you choose to use. One peculiarity of Super Golf is that the game doesn't use a consistent scale. There's a sign in the lower right-hand corner for every hole that tells you the scale of the view, but it's not the most straightforward thing to use. Some holes will be really zoomed in, and some holes will be really zoomed out. Another issue is how the game handles trees. You can't shoot over or under them. If the ball passes over a tree, you're basically playing ping pong. This is at its worst on hole 13. We are going to have to perform a zigzag path around the trees and water hazards to make it to the green. As for those greens, they're all big circles, and as far as I can tell, there's no slope to them. And because of how few angles you can shoot at, you're going to have to bounce around a bit trying to get a shot lined up so that your follow-up shot has a decent chance of going in. After you complete the hole, you get a scorecard, and strangely enough, you have to hit the right button on the controller in order to advance the game. This means that Super Golf is the first Super Cassette Vision game to make a distinction between the left and right buttons on the controller. Golf was a big genre for consoles in these early days, and I think by making it the number 3 game for the system, also released on launch day, this was one of the few times that Epoch was ahead of the curve, or at least on the curve. Super Golf isn't a very good golf game, but at the time there was hardly anything to compare it to. And even if the course design wasn't very good, or the way that it handled clubs was a problem, and the aiming was pretty bad, Super Golf was right there as video game golf was starting to take off. The swing mechanics are really solid, and they're even fairly close to what will become the standard. The game's a mess, but you can see where the whole genre is going in it.